So we got the band back together. I was in Maryland last week. Unfortunately, not able to join. Tim, thank you for holding it down solo. Justin, glad to see you're feeling better.
No problem.
Now the major pain point in my life. I don't know. Justin, obviously you're younger than Tim and I. And Tim will tell you, in my younger years, I had a hard time admitting when I was wrong. I've really grown into that. I now, like, I own up to it. I make a bad decision, man. I'm the first one to say it.
That's a shocker.
And when we got married, it sounded like a good idea for a wedding gift to give ourselves another puppy.
That's a bad idea, wasn't it?
It was, in fact, not a great idea. It was pretty poor planning on my part. We now have 4 dogs, 3 French bulldogs that travel with us. Oh, by the way, hotels allow you to have 2 dogs. There's mistake number 1. So now we're making other arrangements. And we were out of what would be considered for a dog the terrible twos. There was no chewing on things. The dogs were listening, and now it's all chaos everywhere and anarchy. And in theory, it's like, let's do this so we can train the dog before football. But what's really happened is we're really busy at work, and we finally got back from traveling all these different places. Even though I have another work trip coming up in July, I have another one coming up in August. Jess has travel in July as well. We are going to be on the road next weekend. I need to not say we. This is all on me. I did not think this out correctly, man. This is killing me.
Well, if you need to send one of those Frenchies to me, I'll be happy to take care of it for the rest of its life.
Listen, she's a great dog. I love her. I think she's going to be a fantastic dog, as you get used to maturing, understanding commands and not being as rambunctious and getting in stuff. But right now, oh, man, neither one of us have slept more than about 3-4 hours a clip. And what are you going to do? Yell at the dog for getting us up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom? She's doing what she's supposed to do.
Yeah. Hey, that's part of training, man.
Yep.
You guys have talked me pretty much off the ledge of getting the dog.
I love them.
I mean,
there's nothing wrong with getting a dog, Justin.
Look, we're right now. I'm in the process of dog sitting right now, and that's all it's been. It's been fun. You can rent the dog, pet it, get some lovins, and give them right back. Eventually, we'll cross that threshold.
And
we'll get puppies and stuff. But
if you start having that, puppy wanting some puppy attention and whatever, you can go down to the local humane society and go down, take dog out, play with the dog. They love that kind of stuff, man. I used to do it all the time.
It's about how I feel with my nephews and nieces. They come visit, they get sent right back home. Bye.
Listen, Mary Edwards, you don't have to convince me.
Right.
I'm dogs over human most days. So yes, I believe dogs.
I'd let my dog drive my truck if she wanted to.
Yeah, dog. They're part of the family for sure. I don't know what I was thinking, Justin. I'll tell you the best one we had. We adopted Quinn. She was just getting ready to turn 3. Our breeder had 2 litters with her, and we paid an adoption, relocation, and neutering fee. So spade fee, excuse me. So that was pretty simple, a lot less expensive. She came almost ready to go. It was nice. So maybe an option for you. You know what I mean? Maybe an option for you.
Yeah.
So keep that in the back of your mind. But hey, look, enough of life. Let's get into football. And once again, you are tuned in to Running Through the Jungle. I am your host, Brandon Herriott, here with your host, Justin, Lacey, and Tim Lyons. What it do, fellas?
What it do?
Mm-hmm.
So, no more dog talk. We got some other things to talk about. We kind of touch a little bit 2 weeks ago when we were on. We talked about the over-unders on, wins for the AFC North, what you thought, what happened as far as where everybody would fall in line. We were all three pretty aligned in our thought process. I think I gave a little bit more of a window for the Browns to possibly to hit an over than most do out there that I've heard, but we do have some brand new news today. Aaron said he is going to sign with the Steel City and be here for mandatory minicamp next week. Gentlemen, my question to you is, do you need to change and take the over now? Does this move, does it give them 2, 3, 4 more wins? Obviously, I said Steel, Steal, pretty funny to me. Probably not to everybody. We'll see what they end up doing here as far as payment. I haven't seen the contract. It is going to be 1 year, but I haven't seen the price tag here for our guy. But what does it do? I mean, does it move the needle for you at all? Justin, I'll shoot it over to you. Glad you're feeling better. Thanks for joining us. The Steelers move the needle here with Aaron Rodgers signing.
No. And I think that everybody understood that the minute that the over-unders even came out, it was already with the assumption that Aaron Rodgers was going to sign with the Steelers all along. They knew that they couldn't run it with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. They understand that they drafted Will Howard, understandably so, but this was already the understanding assumption that Aaron Rodgers' only option was to go to freaking Pittsburgh.
Or retire.
And this is not breaking any news. It's just becoming official now of something that we already anticipated happening all along. Look, I think that the Steelers roster themselves it's somewhat talented, but it's really on a defense, as we already know, which is not even telling us anything we haven't known before. On offense, I mean, sure, they got DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin third. We'll see what the second-year wideout Roman Wilson will do for them. They're restocking the running back room. I think that Jalen Warren is back, but they drafted the boy Caleb Johnson from Hamilton, Ohio, grad out of Iowa. Pat Freiermuth is a good tight end. Like, I can go up and down the roster.
Gainwell, they had a Gainwell. I think he's a serviceable backup.
He is. It's a nice little serviceable backup piece, but who knows what that offense is going to look like? And quite frankly, if you're asking a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers to come in and to take this into up to another level, I'm just not sure that Rodgers got it in him right now. I mean, could this be a situation of what we saw with Brett Favre in 2009 when he made his first stint with the Vikings and, he went on like an MVP-like season, NFC Championship game, lost to the Saints in the playoffs that year? Could it be something like that? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not really banking on that because, man, if you saw this last couple of years of Aaron Rodgers, man, it just didn't look good. I mean, I know the year before he got hurt on that first 4 snaps into his Jets career. But sure, I think he'll play better than what he did with the Jets. But I think that it's not enough to move the needle for me. I think that at best they can make a second place push, but I don't see them winning the AFC North. If they do get a playoff spot, depending on the matchup who they go against, I still see it another one and done finish. That's kind of where I'm landing with this team still.
All right, Tim, same question to you. Needle mover or no news?
If Aaron Rodgers was 31 and coming and playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay, I'd be like, oh crap, here we go. It's going to be a battle in the AFC North. I don't think it's a needle mover. Yeah, I know he threw for, he had like 63% completion rate in last year. And I don't care what anybody says about the Jets. They had a good defense. They had some really good weapons on that offensive side of the ball. What were they, 5-12 last year, something like that? Yeah. So is Aaron Rodgers?
I think 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah. So is Aaron Rodgers that 31-year-old kid these days? No, I don't think he is. Yeah, he's better than Mason Rudolph. He's better than Will Howard. He's better than that other nobody that they got there as a quarterback. I don't even know what the hell his name is.
Mason Rudolph.
There's Mason Rudolph. There's Will Howard. And then,
Skylar Thompson, maybe.
Yeah,
the guy
I don't
was
even
at
know.
Miami's backup.
No, that's who he is. Yeah, he's a nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is better. I think they have a better looking offense now. But let's not forget, Arthur Smith is still their OC. They haven't had a demanding threat offense since what 3 or 4 years before Ben Roethlisberger retired. So I still think Aaron Rodgers is the third best quarterback in the AFC North now. I know all these Steelers fans think that, they're going to go put up 40 points a game on people and all this stuff now because they have Aaron Rodgers. Whatever, put that pipe dream away. 1 minute you love him, 1 minute you hate him, and now you love him because he's coming to Pittsburgh. We all knew he was coming. It's not like it's a surprise.
Yeah,
I wasn't surprised when I seen it. I was like, it's about damn time,
I was giving him, the longer it went, I was giving him more of an maybe a little bit more odds to retire.
Yeah, that's what I was giving him more odds to, was to retire. I thought there was a 55% chance that he was going to retire, and that 45% that he was going to actually sign with the Steelers. And Shane, get the hell out of here with that shit.
Our boy Shane's got Shedeur Sanders for MVP.
Yeah, Shane is one of my gaming buddies. He's just trolling us right now.
I love it.
Yeah. Keep it up. So, but yeah, good for them. I'm glad they finally, solidified a quarterback. Good luck to him. That's all I got to say.
Listen, here's Mary Edwards saying Rodgers is there to help shape Howard, and then he's gone. No thanks. When I think of leadership and things, as far as football IQ, acumen, you can't argue with the fact that he completes a high percentage of passes. He's always had an unbelievable touchdown to interception ratio. And in his prime, not very many people have done it even close to the level Aaron Rodgers has done it. I'm not taking anything away from him there. But as far as shaping somebody, I don't want him out up and down the Allegheny River in a canoe with Howard taking peyote. You know what I mean? What's he going to do? You know what I mean? They're going to be looking for mushrooms off in the no. It's that's not the guy I want taking my possible next quarterback under his wing. I don't know. I think I would have rather gone a different route for that. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Justin, you talked about at his age, will he have that resurgence like the Brett Favres of the world have, or Tom Brady obviously comes to mind, right? I look at today's Aaron Rodgers completely different than those two guys. Those two guys ate, slept, drank, everything football. Where you have Aaron Rodgers seems like, he might want to be in Trump's cabinet one week. He might want to go off on a retreat, do mushrooms, or what was the other drug he was?
Psychedelics.
Yeah, he's doing all kinds of stuff like that. He might want to go into a cave and hibernate. I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't trust him now. I don't trust him to do what those guys did, because I don't think he's all in on football.
And there's no beaches in Pittsburgh.
There's not. And I mean, if you want to go boating or whatever, I like to do it up here. You just got to sometimes swerve around the dead bodies. It's not a bad place, but it's just not it's not California. That's for sure.
True.
So it's interesting, man. It's interesting. I don't know. It doesn't move the needle for me either. I do think if he stays healthy, though, at least it solidifies the situation. Yeah, and that'll stop being a conversation mostly.
I will say this though. Aaron Rodgers is not obviously, even at this state in his career, I think Aaron Rodgers is still a capable enough quarterback with that Pittsburgh's defense and then Mike Tomlin, that coach. They can still give some scare to other AFC North foes. Like if I'm Baltimore, I'm still scared of the Steelers because if Pittsburgh can beat you with Kenny Pickett, bro, come on now. Like I get it. Aaron Rodgers ain't what he once was and stuff like that, but like Pittsburgh has had Baltimore's number over the last few years. Lamar Jackson's more specifically. So I will watch out for that. For the Bengals, we got to be aware that, look, Pittsburgh fans are tired of seeing Joe Burrow coming in their stadium and beating them. So that might be able to change shape, that they be a little bit more competitive. Like maybe they still lose to us at home at our house, but when we go to their house later in the season, they might probably get like a 1 point or 2 point win over us or whatnot. I don't know. And do you really trust the Browns to be able to beat the Steelers on it? I mean, I do on any given Sunday, but like I'm not. If you had me, to flip a coin between who you're going to pick, Browns or Steelers on Sunday at 1 o'clock, who you taking? I'm honestly going to take Pittsburgh in that matchup, just because of the historical nature of the rivalry of how those two teams have always been built. So like they've always been competitive in the AFC North, but even with the addition of Rodgers, that's not going to change anything. They're still going to be competitive in this division. The question for them has always been, can they take it over the top and be one of the better teams in the AFC when playoff comes around? That's the thing that does not move the needle for me. And that's what we're talking about. Like, I can still see them going round one. They probably have the 6 seed, going on the road at the 3 seed to, like, let's say at Buffalo, and still get smoked.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't change much.
The word you said that I always think of when I think of this squad right now is competitive. Are they going to blow the doors off of anybody? Probably not, but they're always competitive. Overall for the year, they're going to be competitive. Tomlin, listen, for those of you who don't know, I live in Pittsburgh. I'm behind enemy lines. It is a situation where Tomlin takes a lot of heat and guff here in the sports media and with fans alike for not winning playoff games, not getting to Super Bowls. That's the expectation and blah, 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 blah. But when you look what he's done with what he's had, there hasn't been a lot in the cupboard. They've invested in this defense because it's the only thing they got right. You know what I mean? Offensive line has been porous since, basically Big Ben had left, not even left, but 2 years prior to him leaving, the elbow injury and stuff like that. They've had a rough go at quarterback, offensive line. Some of the, like, Freiermuth looks great, but it has had concussion problems. They haven't gotten, like, wide receivers. They get good wide receivers in, but they always end up being divas or head cases or whatever. Case in point, Pickens to the Cowboys. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. I will say this. When you line it up and you tell me Aaron Rodgers is coming to town, I still got number 9. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Austin Zart, thanks for tuning in, my friend. He says, I'm looking forward to these Steelers versus the Bengals games now, especially since they got Rodgers, because the Steelers, they are about to go through some things. Okay. I mean, I could see that happen.
I mean, the Steelers are going to be fun to watch. When it comes to their schedule, they get to, Aaron Rodgers, he has his revenge tour week 1 going against the Jets, team that he literally just played for. He gets to play the Packers this year. That was his team that he, won a Super Bowl with. When you think of Aaron Rodgers, you still think of the Green Bay Packers, historic franchises. It's just he's trading from one historic franchise place to now another one. And I think that's the kind of unique storyline behind it. It's an old historic quarterback that's going into a historic franchise at this window. Let's see how he operates there. I've always said that the Steelers were like the Packers in the NFC, and the Packers were like the Steelers of the NFC too. You know what I mean? So, like, both teams, they've never really been bad. Like, throughout my life that I've watched them, they've never really been bad. They've always been relevant. They've always had good teams, whether if it's good defenses here, good offense here, whatnot. And they just always had like this sort of this mythical luck that weird things always happen in their favor just because it's these franchises. And maybe the Steelers is a perfect situation for Aaron Rodgers in this spot, so that way he can see if that magic can be reborn again. And again, it's no shade that he actually gets to play the NFC North this year. He gets to see if he owns the Bears one more time. He can play the Vikings, a team that that's had him in his number. I think the Vikings have gave Aaron Rodgers fits over the years, but they'll be fun to watch in terms of matchups that they go against this year. But again, I think when it's all said and done, the dust settled, I think we're all saying the same thing. Pittsburgh, they're still going to be probably slightly like a 9-8, 10-7 team. That's really not going to move the needle too much anywhere.
Yeah, I still take the under. Although, interested in week 12 now a little bit more than I was.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers going to the Bears. Tim, who you got in Chicago?
Well, as you guys know, I hate USC quarterbacks. I hate Caleb Williams just because I've seen him for the last couple of years playing against Notre Dame. 1 year he whooped on Notre Dame. The next year when Notre Dame whooped on his ass. So I'm going to pick the Steelers to beat Caleb Williams and the Bears, even though I think their defense is a lot better now these days. But I think that Steelers defense can put enough pressure on Caleb Williams to where he's throwing picks, making mistakes. So I'm going to just call it early. Steelers. Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears.
Justin?
I'm going the same direction. I mean, I don't even need Aaron Rodgers on that team just to be able to go with Pittsburgh over the Bears in that situation. I mean, I just kind of have to go with the storyline of Aaron Rodgers. Does he still own the Bears? And until the Bears prove otherwise, because they're another team that I do see them likely on a rise at some point, but I got to see it first. I just know what I know, and no matter how old he gets, he still has their number. I still will go with A-Rod.
I'm taking the Bears. And we are also going to take a quick break. We don't plan on this one being a full hour show. It is in that off-season time where people are a little bit light about football, but we do have some things to talk about. But we're going to hear from our sponsors first. For those of you watching on YouTube, we'll be right back in a second. If you're listening to wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever it is, please hit that thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Same if you're watching us on YouTube, thumbs up and share us out there. We appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we'll be right back. And we are back with Running Through the Jungle. The fellas here chopping it up and on to the next subject, which is going to be a little bit more Bengals specific. We talked basically a little AFC North there, but NFL right now is having some interesting issues with rookie contracts, especially the second rounders. First round contracts now are fully guaranteed, and now the second rounders seem like they want it fully guaranteed too. It'll be interesting to see where the leak in this dam gets plugged. Will it be everybody in the second round in solidarity saying they all want it? Will maybe the first top 5, 6, 7, 8? And then will it stop, or will it just floodgates open for everybody guaranteed in the second round? I don't know. I think there's only a couple of second rounders that have signed as of right now. Now,
yeah,
the Bengals included, a lot of these guys have signed the waiver as far as the insurance policy and are out there playing and practicing with their teams, but they're not signing the contract. So what do you guys' take on these rookie contracts? Tim, I'll send it over to you. Do you think these guys are on the right side of history here? I mean, do you think the second round should be fully guaranteed, or at least get a little bit more guaranteed money?
Well, I believe that if they open up this floodgate, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, they're all going to want guarantee next, So it's like, okay, but I think
the whole league wants guaranteed money. It's just,
yeah,
where the owners go to, you know what I mean, as far as allowing it to happen.
Yeah, because a lot of the times, as we know, some 4th and 5th rounders get cut. Some of them, end up on the practice squad. Somebody, it just depends if you got a diamond in the rough or not. And you're never going to know until that season actually is in full force and they're actually on the field playing. I understand, like I said last week, I understand, like, for instance, Shamar Stewart. I understand what he wants and what his camp wants, but I also understand what these second rounders are wanting too. But then again, like, are we going to open the floodgates and everybody's going to want guaranteed money and all of them aren't going to start, these 3rd and 4th, 5th rounders aren't going to sign because they want this guaranteed money. They want this guarantee, the actual injury clause put in there and all this stuff. When is enough going to be enough for the NFL? Well, for the NFL owners, that is. I don't know. I honestly don't know. What's the perfect answer to this question? The way I look at it is if you open up that floodgate, everybody else is going to want it, because as we're seeing right now, Shamar Stewart saying, oh, well, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins didn't have this in their contract. Mims didn't have this in his contract last year. Why is it in our contract this year? And all this other stuff. Well, then here we go with, for instance, the second rounders. Oh, well, the first rounders got guaranteed money. I want guaranteed money. The third rounders are going to say, oh, the second year got his guaranteed money. So it's like, when do you say enough is enough? I don't have a perfect answer for that.
All right. Justin, what do you think? Guarantee the whole second round, or is there a place where this has to stop?
I'm not on the train of guaranteeing second round contracts. No. But I think that is direction that where this league is headed, and the teams is going to have to be able to figure out a way to adjust. Obviously, when you think about the rookie wage salary scales, it is based upon the draft rounds that they were projected and drafted. And I think this is also more of a ploy to where you see those big boards, those, Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 big boards, like people that have like first round grades. And then when the actual draft night happens, you see somebody that slides all the way out of the first round into like the back end of the second or even the third round. Let's take Mike Green, for example. Mike Green, for many have all indicated, was a surefire first round pick. He ends up going to the back of the second round to the Baltimore Ravens. But that guy, if he ends up outproducing that second round contract and then dominates, he's going to be like, see, this is why I should have gotten a fully guaranteed deal, because I should have been the first round pick to begin with. And he would have a fair argument into that. Now, it's still up to the teams for them to make that selection, because at the end of the day, he's going to be looked at as, well, you were drafted in the second round. So I think that it is like a preemptive strategy to try to get it out in front of it for now. But right now, I don't think that it should have any wiggle room for movement, because at the end of the day, these guys are not proven. I'll even say this about first rounders too. These guys are not proven. They got to be able to show it on the field first, and then you got to earn that paycheck. Because here's what it is going to show. I mean, here's what the other argument is that other teams can say: we draft you, we pay you all this guaranteed money, fully guaranteed salary, and you stink your rookie second and third year, then all of a sudden we're still on the hook on paying you this salary. And yeah, we can't cut you, because then we still are on the hook for that salary. We can try to negotiate a pay cut, but you already guaranteed this money. You can say no. It's stuff like that. Now you're running into that. So that's why I said there's no dog in the fight for this right now. For me personally, I wouldn't even entertain that. I get it. That is a ploy that people are trying to be a little bit strategic with in the future, moving forward. This is probably a direction where the league is headed to, but teams are going to have to figure out a way to adjust.
Let me give you this hypothetical, because this could have easily happened. Jermaine Burton could have easily been a second round draft choice. So if he's a second round draft choice with some of his outside of football discrepancies and things that have gone on and issues that he's had, what do you do in that situation where now that's a guaranteed contract for 4 years? I mean, that's hypothetically,
I mean, you can cut them, but you're still going to be on the hook for that money that you owe them. So it doesn't change the fact that, like, it's at some point the natural ball is going to stop rolling. It's going to flatline at some point, and no matter how much traction you blow at it, it's not going to go any higher.
The NFL owners don't give something up without getting something in return.
Yeah.
That's not how they become billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
They became billionaires by getting something in return. It's valuable, right? Yeah. So, in case in point, when right around the same time, I think it was the same thing. I don't know if it's quid pro quo to say or whatever, but when they had the guaranteed first round money, there was also a 5th-year option for first rounders, right? So it gave them more control. It stopped them from getting a bigger contract in year 5. It gave them 1 more year of it. So give something to get something. So if they give this, what are they going to get? And there's an argument too on the players' side, like for an established player looking at a second rounder. If I'm a top 5 draft pick and I'm a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, I'm a stud in this league getting big money. The more guaranteed money you have in a second round, which is more volatile than the first round, if it becomes cut or if cut money don't even worry about the cap hit. Money out of pocket, even if it's not counted against the cap because of drug policy or whatever it might be, injury or whatever, the NFL lets it go. Even if it weren't to count against the cap, CBA agreement is that the players get 48% of profit. So if it's 48%, it's cutting into that profit by that revenue and whatever when you're spending more money on guaranteed contracts in the second round. What could that number be? I don't know. There's a lot of analysis that has to go into that. But if I'm an established player, I'm like, you know what? I had to take my licks. Like they got it pretty good.
Yeah. You also know what I think part of it is, man, for real. And I hate to say it. I think it's the NIL following those same players into the NFL. I think that they have recognized their value from playing college football, name, image, and likeness, getting paid, being able to negotiate a certain amount while they're playing ball. And I think that they're carrying it with them at the negotiating table for their rookie contracts.
Name, image, and likeness does not stop when you go to the NFL. You can still sign deals. You can still go to that local car dealership if you're an offensive lineman and sponsor their trucks and do, those things can all still happen off the field.
But the problem is, though,
the NIL in college is BS. That's the problem.
Yeah,
it's we'll give you $8 million. They're not. It's mostly not NIL. It's basically a contract without a contract.
Yeah, and quite frankly, regardless of if it's an NIL for that particular player, but that they also are backed by the school that they're in the program that they're with. And part of it is that when they're drafted into the NFL, they're going to want that team to be on the hook for some of that money too, regardless if and when that happens. And quite frankly, I'm just kind of done with it all together, man. Like once you enter this level of the game, okay, there's no gimmies anymore. Like you said, you can, if you want to go chase the ad revenue separately on your end, that's fine, but you better live up to expectations. Oh, and here's another thing too, because here's another thing that no one is not really wanting to blink or talk about. We've heard all throughout the pre-draft process before the draft started about certain draft picks, hearing from their coaches and their trainers saying that, well, this player, he'll be good for this team. He'll be good for that team. But I think that they need to go to a team to make sure that they be patient and all that stuff. If I'm fully guaranteeing you on a contract as a second rounder, per se, I ain't got time to wait on you. You better produce now. Okay. So
comes a little more pressure too, huh?
Exactly. So with that being said, I don't want to hear well, he just went to a team that just won that wasn't patient enough. Well, you wanted the guaranteed salary contract, right? You wanted to hold out for all this extra money, right? Okay, that's the expectation now. Because otherwise, you're going to turn into Andre Smith. And if you guys remember Andre Smith from the Bengals back in 2009, dude held out all summer long. Came in, once he finally signed his contract, came in overweight, broke his foot his rookie year, didn't do nothing. And he basically just have an average to a below average to a point, bro. I still, in this day, consider him a bust. And it was a draft pick that was never worth it, for real, in my eyes. So do you want that? Is that something that you want to keep going down that rabbit hole? Teams ain't going to be about that. So I do believe that at some point, if this does become the sliding scale of rookie contracts, I think the league itself would find a way to adjust to it automatically.
Fluffy. All right. I'm not sure what you guys thought. If you thought the Bengals improved their team a little bit in the offseason with the addition of some linemen and, some outside pass rushers or whatnot. But PFF has a ranking of 18th, which is down 10 spot from 8th overall as far as roster rankings from 2024 to 2025. So slid down 10 spots. I'm not sure if this is taking into consideration Trey holding out or what the deal is. But Tim, what are your thoughts on the Bengals sliding all the way down to the bottom half of the league in roster construction as far as PFF is concerned?
I agree with it. I think this off season, we had a C- off season. We didn't. What did we do? We re-signed T and Chase. Okay, got Mike Gesicki. Okay, but then there's that defense that's still looming in disarray right now, with Trey Hendrickson not signed. They didn't sign a, veteran corner to the team or, anything like that. We got Jermaine Pratt still on the books. We added, some rookies. I still give us a C- grade. So I think that warrants us dropping 10 spots, because as of right now, Trey's still in La La Land and Shamar Stewart's still in La La Land. We got a brand new defensive coordinator in Al Golden. If mid-season, and I'm going to put this caveat in here, if about mid-season, we're in the middle of the pack with our defense, middle of the pack with defense, I'd be happy to give us a better grade than that because of, the addition with Al Golden, in his new defense. But until Trey Hendrickson's negotiated, his contract's negotiated, and Shamar Stewart is on the field, and we see that too. It's warranted, but also though PFF don't mean crap anyways, but I agree with it. I do.
Yeah. On the homies, a lot of time we refer to them as pretty effing funny rankings. Yeah. Mary Edwards says, I was in Norwood today and came across a car that said, "Pay Trey" on the back window. LOL. That's hilarious. Awesome. Justin, do you agree with Tim? Warranted the slide 10 spots down to 18th overall?
All right, I think that an important distinction that we got to make about this ranking is that it's the roster ranking. This is not the 18th best team ranking. Because if it was the best team, then that means that puts the Bengals at the bottom half of the league. If you ask a lot of scouts, GMs, anybody in PFF, the top 10 best teams in the NFL, the Bengals will be in that list. Okay. But that's just because they add the gravity and the weight of, the value of people in positions like Joe Burrow. He's just that valuable. But these are just simple names on paper roster going up and down the list. And when you look at the names that they are featured on the list from top to bottom, from the top to the on down to the 18th, you got teams like the Chicago Bears above the Bengals. And I had to think about it because it'll give a lot of people pause, like, why are you going to put the Bears above the Bengals? But that's a classic example. The Bears have upgraded their offensive line. They have really good weapons. They have really good weapons around Caleb Williams. They have a really good defense, in my opinion. I think they have a pretty solid defense. Names on paper means like they got a lot of studs on that team. They still got to figure out a way to put it together. But will you consider the Bears a better team than the Bengals? No, I will not do that because we don't know if they're going to put it together. We don't know if Caleb Williams is going to take that second jump. And that's where I do understand the difference between us. So let me make that distinction first before I give my overall analysis of this ranking spot. Now, I do not have an issue right now with this ranking because, quite frankly, it's preseason rankings. And to be honest with you, Tim already said it, and I'll just reiterate it a little bit. The Bengals just did not do enough this offseason to make you feel good about this upcoming season. They just didn't, okay? All they did was re-sign Jamar and re-sign T, which they should have done that, okay? Yeah, and Mike Gesicki, but the other rosters other names on the paper that they added, like the contracts of the Shamaje Perines of the world, the TJ Slaytons or whatever, I don't care about those because none of those move the needle. Yeah, will we be happy to see if Slayton do become a big-time player in the end, like sometime in 2 years from now, we're talking about Slayton like we did with DJ Reader? That would be nice, but he don't move the paper. He don't move the needle for me now, okay? So with that being said, the Bengals just didn't do enough. And they didn't really do enough draft-wise either to make you feel good about the totality of the overall roster. So, but we really love Joe Burrow. We think that Joe Burrow is going to be the primary reason why the Bengals win a ton of games this year. Same with Jamar Chase and same with T. And that's okay. But we don't also have to hear now for those Joe Burrow haters that always wants to say that he's carried by his weapons. Well, won't you take this clip of what PFF has ranked the Bengals roster and just store that for something later for some get back? Because this would be the thing that will help make Joe Burrow's MVP case louder down the road if the Bengals start the season off strong, like we believe that we will, and they end up winning the division, going to the playoffs and all that. Joe Burrow has thrown for a lot of yards and touchdowns or whatever, and he becomes the best quarterback in the league this upcoming year. This will make his MVP case stronger because you ranked his roster 18th out of 32. Just that simple. So I don't have no problem with it for right now. I honestly don't care for these rankings, to be honest with you. I think that it was just a very important distinction to make that this is not the 18th best team. This is the 18th best roster.
I would have thought, honestly, thinking about the roster, not the team aspect of it, I would have thought 12 to 15, to be honest with you, would have been where they would have ranked overall. But, Tim and Austin's art here giving grades away made me think about it. My grade really right now is an incomplete. What does Golden bring to the table? Because I think the defensive schemes are going to be much better. I think the willingness to play younger players is going to help us tremendously. I also know for a fact that we had a ton of injuries last year on defense, and we're getting those guys back healthy. If they can stay healthy, I'm interested to see what the difference is there, how that looks. I also think the impact, bringing in a good defensive tackle, bringing in some new offensive linemen. But again, Dylan Fairchild, incomplete. I don't know what he is in the pros, right? So if he's a professional guard, looks better, right? So to me, it's an incomplete. What I really like, and I think everybody would say this, our offensive weapons are hard to compete against in the league. When you look at Joe Burrow, I think Chase Brown has been grossly underrated. Then you look at Gesicki as a pass-catching tight end. Then you have, Yoshi, Burton. If one of those guys really does take a step this year to go with T and Chase, I mean, that could be something really special.
Yeah.
Still got to tackle people, though.
I will also add to it as well. When it comes to the defense side, I'm going to stick with our corners. What if, like, again, on par with the incomplete? I like that phrasing better. Like, this Bengals offseason is basically like an incomplete. Their roster, we just don't know what we're getting. Because at one point, we thought Cam Taylor-Britt was going to take that next step to becoming that true number one corner. He didn't. But I'm actually feeling really confident about the cornerback room. We getting guys like Dax Hill back, DJ Turner come back. But it's also seeing that can Cam Taylor-Britt rebound? He's had a good OTA minicamp period so far. And I'm excited to see what he can do this upcoming year with new guidance. He intercepted Joe Burrow in camp, a couple days ago. Had one hell of a pick and got the elbow down or whatever. It was talking trash, trying to bring that energy out of him. I like that. I think that, like, there's still a lot of questions to be answered by this team to the point where it's like, yeah, 18th rank, it might seem a little too low, but it's like, have we really proven to be anything more than that, better than that yet?
Right.
Whereas the rosters above, ranked in above it, may not agree with all of it, but you can make a hard case. You can make a nice case that, like, hey, they got this name and this name and this name, and I can see why now. But like I said, doesn't mean that these are just always. This is just names on paper.
Yeah, CTB started talking trash after that interception, and then the next snap, Joe dropped 6 on his head.
Yeah.
Well, on DJ Turner on the other side.
Yeah.
It don't matter. It was on that defense. Toasted him.
Hey, he still wanted to bring the best. He
Don't
brought
poke the
Shiesty
bear.
out of him. He brought
Don't poke
Shiesty
the
out,
bear.
and that's what I wanted to see. Hey, I'm all for it, bro. I'm all for all of it, though.
All right, so we've got a lull in football right now. We're scrambling for new segments, ideas. What are you guys doing to pass the time when it's just, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the breaking news. The 41-year-old quarterback signing with a 9-8 team is the breaking news. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You watching any of the playoffs? NHL yesterday, got NBA tonight. You watching any of that stuff?
Yeah, the NBA is tonight. I mean, I'll probably catch some NBA action tonight just to see what's up with Game 1.
Yeah.
2 new teams in the finals. It'll be exciting to see whoever wins. I don't even care because it's going to be their first trophy in franchise history. So I'm going to be happy for that team regardless.
Yeah.
Tim, you watching sports?
So I've been watching NBA playoffs. Of course, watching my St. Louis Cardinals play. And of course, playing Call of Duty, passing the time. I'm usually multitasking. I'm watching the game and I'm playing Call of Duty, and a lot of the times, like during work hours, I'm listening to, different podcasts, different team podcasts as well. As you guys all know, I'm in Seattle, so I'll listen to see how the Seahawks are doing, and listen to some of their podcasts and stuff like that. Of course, all of the AFC North, listen to them guys, and the FFSN family. I do support the Frustrated Chicago guys, Bleachers to Speakers, the Detroit guys. Those guys, I love those guys. Those guys are like, it kind of reminds me of you and me when we were growing up as kids. You're a Detroit fan and I'm not. But we still had that whole sports thing going on. So watching those guys, June and oh my gosh, Foster, those 2 guys over there at the Bleachers and Speakers, and then of course you got the Vikings and Skull guys. They do a round table every Wednesday.
Show's really good.
Yeah, it's really good show. If you guys, and I know everybody's like, oh, it's not the Bengals, but then of course I watched Lockdown Bengals and Cincinnati Bengals stuff. I'm always doing something throughout my day, but yeah, right now I'm after we're done here, I'm gonna turn on the first finals game and see who slugs it out and see if the Pacers are going to be underdogs and win that stuff. But I have OKC winning it all. I picked those from the very beginning of the season. So yeah,
I not a sexy matchup as far as cities with Oklahoma City and Indianapolis.
Yeah, small markets.
But I think we're going to see a fun brand of basketball. Both these teams like to push the pace. I really think that this is going to be a fun series to watch. I hope it goes 6 or 7, just so we can get some good play of it. Now, on the other hand, I took the Panthers earlier in the year on a futures bet to win the Stanley Cup. So I wasn't extremely happy that they lost to Edmonton. Edmonton had a good comeback last night. Those of you didn't watch it, the Panthers were up 3-2, ended up losing in overtime 4-3. But I was happy that they only lost by 1 because they were plus 1.5. So the old DK account liked that one.
Yeah, and like I was watching hockey playoffs. Wasn't last year, it was the year before, because the Seattle Kraken made it to the playoffs their rookie year in the National Hockey League, and it was exciting. The last couple of years they haven't been too good, but I still keep an eye on them. But I might watch some Stanley Cup playoffs. The next time they're on. I totally forgot they were on last night until I got the news push last night that it was on. So,
to come full circle, put a little bow on this for me on this episode. Our new puppy's name is Ivy, but I call her the Kraken. So
nice.
Yeah, when we talk about getting her out of the cage, we're like, release the Kraken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Out she goes. All right, Justin, any parting shots on the way out for the folks?
No, I'm gonna be entering the dead zone here at some point because once the NBA Finals concludes and the NHL playoff concludes, this is the dry parts of sports. Ain't nothing gonna be firing up until training camp, really. So with that being said, we might as well enjoy it while we can, and hope that there's some news that's going to be said about Trey Hendrickson. That's all we can really hope for. Because other than that, man, it's going to be a pretty quiet rest of the offseason.
Tim, any parting shots?
I really don't have very much tonight. As always, like I always say, is everybody, thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can check us out on podcasts on Spotify and Apple and all those. Doesn't Amazon do a podcast now too?
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Yeah. Amazon, so Amazon, and I don't know if we're on Amazon too. I'm gonna guess we are.
Yeah,
so.
we're if you have podcasts, that we will come.
Yeah. So if you get a chance to download and give us 5 stars on there. I appreciated everybody last week. For me, I was Juan Solo last week.
Yeah.
And it's I was a little nervous. It's a little hard.
Daunting task to do one of these by yourself.
It is. It is. But I appreciate everybody that was in the chat and giving me ideas, and I was feeding off of them, and and all that stuff, and answering questions and all that. I appreciate it. But anyways, I'm not going to be long-winded. Thank you guys for watching. You guys have a great weekend. You guys take care, and you guys be safe. Hoo day.
Austin's Art says, I hope they get this stuff done with Trey Hendrickson by July. To quote my father, Austin, you can hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster, because it ain't happening, cuz it'll be well into July before we figure this out, my guess, if not later. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Look, Scotty Scheffler, Memorial Tournament, back-to-back years. Congratulations. That's a big win. And everybody else, be safe. Catch us next week. We're going to be right back here on Thursday night as we are running through the jungle.